My name is Liam, and this is the first episode of the new hobby vlog series I plan to make called Eyeballs Kill Team Conversations. This is going to be a series about my foray into Games Workshop's Kill Team, which I began alongside my wife in 2020. I was a 40k player from 3rd edition to 6th edition. I had a Tau army, I had a Ravenwing army, and I had a Thousand Sun army. But when the 40k scene locally here sort of dried up, I quit 40k and moved over to War Machine and Hordes. Because that's what most people here were playing, and you can't play a miniatures war game without opponents. So in 2020, my wife approached me with the fact that she had always wanted to paint some Sisters of Battle. And the War Machine and Hordes scene here was sort of dying off. So I said, well, if you want to paint a few Sisters, why not Kill Team? Then you can just get a few Sisters and we'll go from there. And so she got Sisters, and I rebought into Tau, having sold my previous Tau army when I stopped playing 40k. So let me flip over to my other screen here where you can see my master tracking document I have for the rosters for the 6 kill teams that I have. I ended up with 6 teams thus far because she got Sisters and I got Tau when we were first getting into the game. And then she said, well, I've always wanted to paint Thousand Suns. Can I buy a Thousand Sun kill team? And I said, yeah, their kill teams are not that expensive. Let's do it. So then I thought, well, that gives you an Empire team and a Chaos team. I'll get a second team. And so I got a Space Marine team to match with her. Now I had a Xenos and an Empire, and she had Empire and Chaos. And I said, well, why don't we each get a third team and fill in that missing one of the 3 major factions that we don't have? You get a Xenos team, and I'll get a Chaos team, and then we'll have 3 teams each. And so I got a Chaos Marine team to go alongside my existing team. And then we came to the 4th team because I was watching Eons of Battle, and on their channel they had a review of the Cobalt Keep acrylic magnetic army display cases, and I thought, oh, those are pretty cool. And when I looked at it, it was more economical to ship groups of 4 into Canada than it was groups of 3, because the shipping is pretty high when you're coming into Canada at present for Cobalt Keep products. So we elected to buy 4 rather than 3. And my wife said, well, you know, I've always wanted to paint Stormcast, but I've never wanted to play Age of Sigmar. Is there an army where I could convert Age of Sigmar Stormcast models for Kill Team? And I said, well, I've seen them made into Custodes before. You could easily have a Custodes team with Stormcast models. So she bought some parts and started working on a Custodes team, and I said, well, you know, I've always wanted a Tyranid kill team, but I have never bought one because I'm not super huge into Horde armies. And I had a Space Hulk sitting on my shelf, unpainted, since about 2014, when I acquired a huge lot of 40k related stuff on a local classified site, and there was a Space Hulk in it. And I thought, this gives me an excuse to get the Tyranid army I've always sort of wanted, and it gives me an excuse to put paint on all those Space Hulk Gene Stealers. So I bought some Tyranid Warriors, I bought some Termagants, I bought some Hormagaunts, and I went from there. And that gave me 4 teams Then my 5th team came from the Chalnath Pathfinders, which add to my Compendium Tau. And then my Legionaries from the Nakmund box make a 5th team for me, or a 6th team, sorry. My wife actually ends up having 7 right now because she got Warp Coven as her bespoke Thousand Sun release. She got the Sisters from the Chalnath box, the Novitiates, and she also got the Eldar Corsairs from the Nakmund box to complement her Compendium Eldar that she had as her Xenos entry for our initial push to have 3 teams each. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of each sheet here, what I've been working on for each team. I'm going to plan to do an episode dedicated to each team, specifically detailing my reasons for choosing that team, the kit bashes, the models, the painting, what I've been doing towards making that team a reality, and then hopefully eventually some future episodes once I get a chance to play some games and maybe take part in a narrative campaign, detailing how I feel about how the teams play and how the campaign goes and what my teams have accomplished. Now, I'm, like I say, not very competitive, and I'm also a big Vorthos person. I'm also very fluff-minded. I want to tell a good story with these teams. The crunch doesn't so much matter to me. I'm not the kind of guy who goes, oh man, I have to optimize each and every roster choice to be the absolute perfect choice that's going to get me the most chance of having victory in any game I play. That's not really my style. So do take that into consideration. If you are more of a crunchy Melvin Spike type person who wants to play in tournaments and wants to have just really excellent rules and pick the perfect roster of the perfect, most powerful guys that are at the top of the meta, maybe my content won't be for you, but it doesn't have to be for everybody. So here on my first kill team, my Cadre de Anoi Tarocha Kovash Tauva, which means one purpose to strive for the greater good, we have the name or the type of each model in the roster, the 20th space being empty because I just don't have a model to fill that, their name in the Tau language, the translation of that name in English, their equipment here, whether they are assembled, painted, whether they have decals put on them, varnish, a magnet in their base, and a data card with an image of the model in it. I've made data cards for all of these operatives, but I haven't taken pictures of this team yet, so that doesn't get counted as being finished. And then down here, I'll give them a score out of 140. I'll give 20 points for completing. I'm making an index document for each kill team. Similar to, if anybody remembers, there was a guy who competed in Grand Tournament Baltimore 2002, I believe, with a 1,000 squat army, using the first 3rd edition Codex Chaos Space Marines. He made his own Codex 1,000 squats, where he had really good fluff narrative behind why he picked his team and actual datasheet entries for each member of his force. So I wanted to do the same thing here, and so I'm scoring myself 20 points for doing that, and then you get 20 points for assembly, obviously out of 20, painting, decals, varnish, base magnet, data card, and a total score out of 140. So that's my Tau roster. It's all the compendium stuff that isn't Pathfinders. Then I've got my Pathfinders roster. I still have to pick some names for these last two Shas-La, but I'll go through my Tau lexicon and find some good names for those. These guys are all assembled. Some are painted, but I haven't marked down which are which, because I did have a squad of 10 Pathfinders before I got the Chalnath box, and so I just simply added the Pathfinders with the upgrades to make the specialists to my already painted Pathfinders list, and then I will have a few extra Pathfinders kicking around, not doing anything, mostly just Shas-La, but that can't be avoided at this point. So I have to go actually look at my Pathfinder models and see which are painted and mark those down. Then there's the decals, the varnish, the base magnet, and the data card with images. And over here, this is going to get eventually deleted. It was just in picking the names for some of my Pathfinders, I wanted to see which first initial I had used in a lot of cases. My next team is my Memoirs of Eastfan Deathwatch roster. This was built with Kill Team 2018 in mind, but it's a project that I've had rattling around in my brain since 2007, where I wanted to do something related to like the flight of the Eisenstein, where there were loyalist traitors who escaped Eastfan 3 to try to warn the Emperor about Horus's treachery, and GW kept retconning how many Marines from each legion were on the Eisenstein, and I said, well, that's kind of out of the question, and it was also difficult at that point in history to buy Heresy-era armor marks, so I put it on the back burner and said, well, I can't afford to do this, the armor marks are too expensive, and blah, blah, blah. And with Kill Team, I said, you know what? It's 20 men max. The plastic Mark III kit exists. I can buy 2 Mark III kits and maybe a few bits here and there to kit bash, and off we go. And so 2 of my men, these last 2 guys, Vincenzo Cataneo and his 2 chainswords, Husk and Varna, and his jump pack, and my Yan Kavari, who's a Luna Wolf. Vincenzo is a World Eater, and Yan is a Luna Wolf with a Storm Shield and a Bolter. They're not legal in Kill Team 21. They were for Kill Team 18. But, so they're all assembled, painted, yada yada. They just need varnish on them. And so I've got them listed here as missing in action. The rest of these guys are just Deathwatch dudes for this list. So it's the most complete of my teams. Then we have the Illuminated and the Cult of the Ancient Muse, which was another place where I could do something that I'd wanted to do for a while, but never had the desire to fulfill on 40k army scale. And that was, I've always wanted to, ever since seeing the new Plastic Escher gang, I wanted to build some Escher gangers. And I figured, Escher gangers can function as Chaos Cultists in this team. So I made an Alpha Legion team with Chaos Cultist backup. And I'll talk more about them in their own dedicated episode, of course. But they have just 2 warriors who are needing painting. When I initially bought the team for Kill Team 2018, I had only heavy weapons and special weapons and Terminators. I've since sold the Terminators because they can't be fielded in this edition. But I built them out of Havocs, rebased onto 32s. So this this heavy bolter and plasma gun and missile launcher are Havoc bodies. And I traded one of the 5 Havoc bodies to someone on Facebook for some other bits I needed. So I only had 4 Havoc bodies. The 4th had a Reaper autocannon, but I'm going to trade that body. I tore off the autocannon, and I'm turning that into the Reaper chain cannon for my Legionaries team. So, I added a box of Chaos Marines to that to get 10 and 10, because initially I had spec'd the team for 2018 as 8 Alpha Legion and 12 Cultists, 12 being twice the number of the sacred number 6 of Slaanesh for my Chaos Cult. But in this edition it was better to take 10 and 10, so I did that instead. And I could give those extra Marine bodies to my Legionaries team. We have Splinter Tendril Marianus is my Tyranid team. I've got to make a few changes here. The warriors are fully magnetized, so I'm going to drop a Termagant for a Genestealer leader. And I'm also going to drop a Termagant for a gunner with a Barbed Strangler, so I can have both options. Even though I'll only have 3 warrior bodies, you can't field 2 gunners in the same fire team, and I'm never going to field 2 warrior fire teams with this roster, so it's fine. This team is a place where I've always wanted to try using glow-in-the-dark paint somewhere on a model, and I thought Tyranids would be the perfect use case for that, because there are a lot of bioluminescent sea creatures and insects and whatnot that exist in the real world that could be a good place to use that. So I got some Green Stuff World bioluminescent glow-in-the-dark paint, and I'm going to go from there. These guys are assembled and they're all primed, but they don't have anything else done to them. And then we have the Shrouded, who are my Word Bearers Legionary team from Nakmund. The Legionaries didn't really fit with the fluff that I had in line for my Illuminated Alpha Legion list, so I decided to make them a different color scheme and different faction and just a completely different list. And because I had those extra Marines left over, thanks to having the Havoc bodies as part of my other squad, I had 3 Chaos Marines left over from when I added a squad of Chaos to that list, and I had an extra Havoc body left over. So I had a Flamer left over, and a Bolt Gunner and a Chainsword Bolt Pistol guy. So those are going to be my 2 Icon Bearers here, and my Flamer. And then my Reaper Chain Cannon is also an old guy. That gave me 14 dudes when you add the 10 that come in the Nakmund box. I've also added a Dark Apostle to this roster for Kit Bash purposes, which added another body. Put me at 16, or 15, sorry. And then today I added a Greater Possessed that I bought from someone on Facebook to stand in as my Anointed with a few Kit Bashes, because I didn't like some of the bits that they gave you in the Nakmund kit for the Anointed. I wanted a little bit more more demonic than what the Anointed guy in the kit was, where he just looks like a Chaos Marine with his tongue sticking out and a funny little skin-covered claw. I was like, yeah, that doesn't look too great by my standards. So these guys, I bought Nakmund from my friendly local game store, Quantum Games, which is a short walk from my house. I pre-ordered it and I bought Nakmund on release date, but my wife and I have been in the process of doing spring cleaning, as you do in the spring, and we said, since we had already planned a trip to go and visit my parents and allow our son to have some time with his grandparents over a weekend in April, we said we would leave the box unassembled until that weekend in April, and then take it with us and do hobby work in the evenings at my parents' house while we visit with them. So that's why I haven't yet assembled any of the Legionary Marines here. You'll notice over here I've got extra columns that have my plans for kit bashing in them. Those will get deleted when the team's assembled and all that. These 4 slots that I have left over, I can fill those with alternate marks for people, because you have to define your marks of chaos on the roster level. So if I wanted to have, say, a Khorne Berserker for certain games and a Slaanesh Berserker for other games, I could add another Berserker and just use the same model to represent it on my roster here. So that is my 6 teams as they stand at present. I'm hoping that there will be at least some people who will enjoy this type of content, where I sort of ramble on about a team and show you off the models and the lore behind the team, and then I talk about how they field on the table once I do get to field them on the table. I guess it's kind of similar to the type of content that I've seen from Battle Brothers Tabletop, albeit probably less well produced and more rambly, as I'm more new to the whole video making and editing and production side of things. But yeah, so that's what I've got so far for my teams. And there'll be a link in the description where I'll have not only a link to this document, so if you want to follow along with my progress as I update my spreadsheet, and there'll also be a link to my Google Drive folder that has all my data card templates in it, if you would like to use those data card templates. I have another video on my YouTube about how you can edit those with Inkscape to make your own data cards. I know there are other data card templates floating around online. Mine are sized for a little bit bigger. They're sized for a 6x4 index card, because I wanted to have them sort of similar size to the data sheets in the book, so that I could fit more of the info from the book on the data card, to make it easier for someone like my wife, who is not so much of a gamer and more of the hobby side. It makes it easier if she can look at it and it looks exactly quite similar to what she's got in her book. She can go, okay, here we go, here's my card, rather than having, things are abbreviated and shortened and fit on a small card. So, but I hope you like this first episode, and I hope I haven't rambled on far too long. I probably have gone on a little longer than I should have, at 24 minutes. So I will say thank you for watching, and hope I get to see you again in later episodes. Have a great evening, and enjoy your kill team however you get to make it.